Startup You. Well, we're down to the final talk of the day. I can't believe it. Super exciting. For those of you who just joined us, my name is Amy Lesnick, and I'm the CEO of Pledge 1%, and I'm super excited to be the MC here at Startup University. It's been an incredible day of content, great stories and interviews, and lots of amazing insights. So it wouldn't be Web Summit if we didn't go out with a bang. And backstage right now sits the founder of one of the most successful startups, the most successful generation-defining apps out there. In conversation with CNN's Laurie Segall, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the founder of Tinder, Sean Rad. Thank you.
All right. The man who created the swipe, ladies and gentlemen. How many people here are on Tinder? Okay, don't be shy. That's all right. You can tell me later.
I feel you're so far away.
I am far away. This is a dating app thing. I'll get a little closer. Actually, I shouldn't. I think they have cameras. Okay, Sean.
Laurie.
I want to talk about starting a company because I think there are a lot of myths we have when we look in the rearview mirror about starting a company, about how it came together and the future of love and disrupting it. What's the biggest misconception about founding a company? What for you was it?
Well, it's very, very hard, and it never gets easier. I think there's this misconception that as a company grows, you sort of have a team around you and that team takes away all the pressure, but the reality is the challenges increase and the challenges change and you're constantly learning, and it never gets easier. So you have to get better.
Yeah, I mean, and also, by the way, you look at Tinder and everyone's like, oh, well, this is a company that changed the way we find relationships. You kind of started it, I mean, it's a little awkward to say, but you just kind of started it because you wanted to get not rejected.
Yeah. Look, I think if you look at all great technologies, I mean, a big misconception is that people sort of have ideas to change the world or have massive ideas and go out there and work backwards from a goal. I think the reality when it comes to innovation is it sort of starts from an area of love or passion, and you sort of discover something and you iterate and you learn and you make a mistake and you learn from that mistake and you grow. Yeah. So, if you look at Tinder or you look at most successful startups, they didn't start with a grand vision. They just started with a personal, sort of a personal plan to do something or change something in the world, and it was iterative from there. I think it's a lot of pressure for entrepreneurs these days where they feel like they have to change the world or do something big, because most things that change the world didn't start with the plan to change the world. It's sort of, you sort of found that looking back in the rearview mirror, and in hindsight, you see that the ideas and the different things that you learned and the different things that you produce had an impact. I think it's hard to look at that, to sort of figure that out moving forward.
And take me to those early days. Take us inside of Tinder in the early days. You talk about having certain values, having a meritocracy within the company. Because I know a lot of people here are building, how many people here are entrepreneurs? Okay, good amount. So what is it, what are some of the things that you did early on that was kind of, this was your thing that you did that led to some of the success?
Yeah, so I think when you're building a consumer product in particular, you really want to understand your users. I think the more you understand them, not just what they're looking for, but what's going on in their lives, how they feel, how they want to feel when they use your products, you could start developing better products. And the best way to do that internally is to sort of promote an environment where people can challenge each other. There's a lot of transparency, there's diverse voices, and we really, we didn't want a culture that was like a service provider mentality where product comes up with a great idea, passes it to engineering, engineering builds it, passes it to marketing, because it sort of lacks a soul when you do it that way, and people feel disconnected from the purpose of why we're building things. So for us, it was about reminding everyone at every stage of the business why what they're working on mattered, why it mattered to the user, and why it's important. And we did certain things that we did to instill that openness and that kind of keep thinking about what the bigger mission behind what we're doing is. Most companies sort of hide their product roadmap, especially the larger you get. It's sort of done within product groups or design groups behind the scenes, and then passed on to the rest of the company. We had a culture where any idea we had, even in its infancy, the person who came up with it would have to stand in front of the company, and we sort of maintain this up to like 200 employees, and present the ideas, and everyone in the company was invited to basically rip it apart. And this created a culture where people saw that it was okay to call bullshit on someone's idea. And it doesn't matter who you are, you can raise your hand and talk about how you think that this product could be better, or what the company is doing could be better. And that really created a lot of alignment. And it also forces people to like think about company goals instead of personal goals, because if you're sitting in all hands and you're asked to sort of provide feedback or rip apart a product, you're going to kind of put aside your personal biases, like the engineering team. It'll be weird if an engineer kind of sits in front of the all hands and says, we shouldn't do this because it's hard to build, right? You don't want to be that person. So you sort of tend to focus on the bigger company goals and the company mission.
What product decisions that people can see on Tinder came out of those all-hand meetings where you did that?
Every single thing you see on Tinder was shaped from those meetings. I can't think of a single great idea that we had that was not significantly made better by some level of tension within either small meetings or large meetings, because you want to hear all the voices. Everyone has, I think in concert, you sort of look at something and you find little details and different ways to make it better, and every single detail and every insight matters.
So you're on the couch.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you this question.
Yeah.
You can lay down if you want. You're on a rocket ship. Things are going great. You've created this app that has created all these copycat apps. They come to you and they say, Sean, you are no longer the CEO of this company. Take me to the conversation that day. How did that feel?
It was hard. It was unexpected, I think, to me and most of the organization, because we were doing so well. And I think the idea was that we should bring in someone with a bit more experience, which I think experience is needed at all levels of the organization. And
like, what did you say to them? Were you like, look at this, it's doing
I did, and I said, hey, let's bring in a COO, and I think it'll be a more effective complement to what we have. And the board made their decision. I didn't agree with it, but I went along with it. I actually really liked the new CEO who came in. But I think I learned a lot from that. And one of the greatest lessons, I think you sort of see this across building all companies and in life. Life gives you obstacles. Like you're gonna make mistakes. You're going to get knocked down. And you can either point fingers, blame, or you can look at yourself and ask yourself how you can improve and how you can get better. And I've learned through that moment, through moments that the company has had, that every mistake is an opportunity to get better. And a lot of our greatest ideas came out of failures and learning from those failures to produce something better. So I think for all the entrepreneurs out here, if you have that mindset, if you have the mindset that life is going to throw you curveballs and there's always a lesson, and there's always an opportunity to do something better. You almost get to this point where like mistakes are actually exciting, because it's like, oh, we did something wrong. Well, let's figure out how we can actually get better and improve. If you have that attitude throughout the organization, I think you're gonna find that you're gonna grow a lot faster and succeed faster.
I can imagine it was humbling.
Yeah. Look, you wake up. Another great part of that experience, in many ways.
I mean, it sounds like a horrific experience, but
It was horrific. I mean, obviously, you go through stages
Sure.
of grief, but I think at the end of the day, for me personally, it was a great experience. I came back as CEO 5 months later, which was also nice. But one of the great things about losing the title, when you're in a position of authority, it's easier to convince the team to sort of do something. And I moved from CEO to president, where I don't really have a purpose other than to focus on product. And it was a great experience for me because when people listened, or when we came to a conclusion together, it wasn't because I was the CEO. It was because I was a partner with everyone in the
Right.
organization. And we already had a culture of openness where people felt welcome to challenge the CEO or challenge anyone. But now they felt even more welcome to challenge me. And I love that, because I think through that tension, you improve your ideas and you get better.
Speaking of challenges, if there was ever an imperfect match, it could have been IAC and Tinder, right? You guys have
Yeah.
had a complicated relationship from
Yep.
the beginning. How does it feel to sue Barry Diller?
Well, suing anyone is never fun.
It's a powerful company you went up. I mean, for
Yeah.
folks who don't know, Tinder filed a lawsuit against the company, the parent company. It's a big deal to do something like that as a founder. And it wasn't just you; it was many people. So
Yeah, it was me, current executives at the company, former executives, all my co-founders. We all came together to sue IAC and Match. And look, it's never fun, but it's really simple. We had a contract, and they didn't honor the contract when it came to compensating the team for the hard work that they did building an amazing company. And that didn't settle well with us. And we felt that it was necessary to hold them accountable. And we're doing it.
think you have a shot at winning?
I think we have a very, very strong case.
Let's look at the future. As the person
Yeah.
who kind of created this idea of the swipe and how which would change the way a lot of folks find relationships, what do you think the future of dating apps looks like? Now there are a lot of other apps built similar
Yeah.
to Tinder. What is the future?
I think it looks nothing like what you see right now, in the sense that a lot of people talk about AI and its ability to create new insights and new data, but I actually like to think about AI and its ability to create better user experiences. So I think I'll kind of give you a simple picture of where I think not just Tinder is headed, but a lot of different applications are headed. I think Siri might become a matchmaker soon. Right now, you look at Tinder has made it exceptionally simpler and easier to connect with people, partially because it introduces a new way to the double opt-in, partially because behind the scenes there's a lot that we're doing with AI and ensuring that we show you the best possible matches. But you could see how it could get even easier, and one day, because the system is so smart in knowing the users and knowing what you want, you could sort of see one day Siri might say, hey, Sean, there's someone a mile away who you find attractive, and we were pretty sure she finds you attractive, and you both happen to like Coldplay, and they're playing in town next week. Do you want to get a coffee? And if you like each other, go. And Siri might create that transaction, or might actually make that introduction like a traditional matchmaker. So you sort of see, as technology gets better, technology starts to disappear in our lives and starts to sort of become a little more fluid with our daily behaviors. And that creates exciting new possibilities.
Oh, I hope Siri doesn't have like an agenda or anything.
No.
What if someone hacks that? That'd be awkward.
Well-
Go with me here. I was interviewing an entrepreneur recently, and she talked about how maybe one day, we would have bots to go through the dating apps and just find the best matches. Like we would have an AI bot to actually date for us. Is that
No, I hope not. I think that's a scary existence.
Well,
you don't want to take the humanity out of technology.
I was about to say, I think the thing that a lot of folks talk about, when I have friends who are on the apps, it's like, I'm on the apps or I'm not on the apps, you know? And this idea of people becoming pixels is becoming a real problem as we look at tech and ethics. So,
yeah, I think, look, I would encourage all the entrepreneurs here to, when you're designing products, start with how you want your users to feel, right? There's a lot of ways you can get a user from point A to B, right? And you can define success as, if we build something and people use it a lot, then we're successful. I actually think that's a very superficial understanding of success. I think you have a responsibility, particularly as a consumer company, to make sure that when your users walk away from using your product, that they as individuals are better. And I think we're going through an interesting time with tech right now, where the attitude has been with Facebook, with Instagram, that if we build something and people use it, then it's a great thing. But at the same time, people drink a lot of alcohol doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good thing. I think you need to sort of create boundaries and encourage people to use the products the right way. And not abuse these platforms. And I think the responsibility lies with the actual platforms.
you said something the other day that was interesting about feelings first approach, like
Yes.
how people questioning social media ethically, what advice would you give to Facebook at this moment to change that user experience? I know, I'll just throw myself off the cliff a little bit, but I know if I post like 9 or 10 Instagram stories in a day, like something's not right, you should check in if my life looks really, really good.
Yeah.
So how do you change this user experience to design a platform?
Yeah, so you want a feeling first design approach, which is really something Tinder focused on. It wasn't about, our sort of metrics of success for the product team weren't about how do we reduce the number of clicks, how do we get people to use the app more. It was more about how do our users want to feel, and can we introduce, just because something works well doesn't mean people walk away feeling good. Like, for example, before Tinder, you would use products like Match.com, and there would be like this survey. It would ask you if you're a smoker, if you're, if I'm Jewish, so are you conservative, are you moderate? And I'm like, I would go through this stuff. I'm like, I don't know. Do I have to call my mom to find out if I'm a conservative Jew or a Reform Jew? And in real life, that didn't make me feel good. That made me feel desperate. It made users using those products feel desperate. And Tinder came along, and we wanted our users to feel great using a product. You don't walk into a restaurant with a resume in your hand, and you shouldn't join a dating app feeling like you're filling out a resume. It should feel like a fun experience. And when you start from that point, it starts to inform how you design these experiences. And you could apply that to Facebook too. It's like, is it enjoyable to read 200 items in the feed? Yes. But do I walk away during the day feeling better about myself?
Why not?
I don't know. But if we sort of ask those questions, I think we might think differently about how we design these products.
I got to ask the question of competition. How will Tinder continue to dominate, stay ahead of, say, Bumble?
Look, I think there's always competition, but you have to focus on your own users and your own community. You might have two products that look the same, but the communities are different. And you have to serve your community and somewhat ignore the competition, right? Because we were never distracted at Tinder with the competition. It was always about focusing on what our users want, and the science was how well we listen. The better you listen to your users, the more honest you are when you're listening to their feedback, then I think the better you're gonna build greater products. And we did a very effective job at listening to our users.
I think a big part of entrepreneurship that in the magazines and on TV sometimes, we don't necessarily talk about the depth of failure and how horrific it can be sometimes. So just take us to failure for you. I mean, take us to a moment that was just really, really awful, and tell us, what exactly you were able to do to cope. I mean, because from afar, it looks like you made a lot of money from Tinder. You created this dating app that has created a whole other subset of apps and culture, and you're doing pretty well. So take us to a moment where you just really, really failed, and how you were able to kind of overcome it, and give us specifics.
Yeah, I think, look, recently, when the whole team felt that IAC and Match had reneged on an agreement they made with us, I felt like I had failed the team, because I invited this group to join the company, and I made them a promise that they were going to be compensated and fairly for the work that they did. And this is a team that really bled Tinder. I mean, it was more purpose. It wasn't about money. It was waking up and really fighting on behalf of the user and doing our life's work. And I was depressed. I felt like shit. I felt like I let down the team. I felt like I could have done better. But I learned from that, and it took a lot of strength, I think, by everyone to sue such a big company.
What is it tangible you did when you talk about being depressed and all this stuff? Like, what do you do? Like, what is the thing you did? Did you walk around? Did you breathe for 5 minutes? Like, give us something people can take.
I think it's always important to sort of step back and deal with your emotions first, because you have to sort of pay respect to your emotions, or else they're going to cloud your judgment. And whether it's meditation or whatever, you sort of have to get to a place where, like, of acceptance. Okay, this is my reality. This is what's happening. I'm not going to complain about it anymore, because complaining doesn't get you anywhere. And start thinking objectively. How can I grow, and how can I take lemons and create lemonade? And how can I turn this into a positive experience, into a learning experience? It goes back to what I'm saying earlier. If you could do that both in your personal life and within the organization, I think you're going to constantly find that any bad experience can be turned into a reason to grow, and a learning, and a great experience. So there's, you almost get to the point where you're excited when there's an obstacle, because it's like, if everything's perfect, you're not growing as a human being. People want to feel growth. They want to learn. And a lot of time, growth comes out of failure.
I have to, it says the presentation is over, so I have to end it, but really quick. A lot of entrepreneurs in the audience. What is your advice to the entrepreneurs here?
Other than what I said, I think one key thing, you're living in a time where millennials are more empowered than ever. These technologies that we have in our lives has given us a voice, have allowed us to travel, access information, and really be whoever we want. So as you think about building companies, you have to remember your employees, and millennials in particular, are sort of feel empowered to be whoever they want in the real world. It shouldn't be different in the company. You need to create an environment where people feel heard, where they feel a sense of purpose in what they're doing. So spending more time on the why. Why are we here? Why is what you're doing important? And not just what we're doing and how we're doing it, I think is critical. And if you don't do a good job of that, you're not going to motivate, you're not going to retain talent. And at the end of the day, building a great company comes down to team. I mean, it's a bunch of people coming together around a singular goal, and you can't do it alone. So I think you need to, building a company in 2018 and successfully running an organization requires a different set of skills than even 10 years ago. And I think everyone has to sort of learn from your predecessors and learn from examples, but also listen to the people around you and reinvent, because right now we're going through a period of reinvention in tech, and particularly culturally, and that's a great thing.
Great, a lot of opportunity. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.